morning. My name's Bianca and I lead the team here at Community Courtyard. And today I am really lucky because I have a great selection of my team here. So we've got the delightful Jay, who is in Cardiff. We've got the awesome Kat, who I think is in Northampton, having escaped where she was. She's returned. So that's really cool. We've got the fantastic Jasmine, who I think is in one of the outskirt villages in Northampton. And then you might think, but the fitness health guru Luke is in an exotic island. He is in fact in Leicester. Yeah, that's kind of exotic to us in Northampton. Anywhere past the market square feels a little bit like an adventure sometimes. So good morning to everyone. How are you all doing? Everyone all right?
Yeah, we're good, thanks.
I'm waving, but you can't even see me, can you? But yeah, I'm good.
Hello. So we're going to have a little natter on a Tuesday about stuff. And I know that Jay has got a question for us. Jay, what's your question?
I just wondered if any of you have heard about the black man in America that I think he got shot something like 7 times, unarmed and in the back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did anyone see that or hear about it? Or
Yeah, I've seen the video of that.
I heard about it, but I didn't really want to watch the video.
No, I haven't watched the video.
I haven't watched the video either. I haven't even really heard much about it. Can anyone just fill me in on what actually happened?
He got pulled over for a non-violent offence. I think there was a level of criminality there, but he wasn't a threat. He had no weapons on him. And more shockingly, 2 children were in the car.
When he got shot?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And in the video, I haven't seen all of it, but you see him slump back into the car. So it's actually pretty hideous. I was talking to people the other day, and I'm interested in what Jay and Kat and Jasmine and Luke will think, because it feels like we have this big moment of Black Lives Matters, yeah, and it's disappeared.
Mm.
Do you mean in the UK?
Definitely.
And that feels a bit uncomfortable. I mean, it's almost like Black Lives don't matter anymore.
Mm. I think it's like a lot of things. It had a real big impact, didn't it? I don't know whether it coincided with, at that point, everyone was on lockdown, so people had more time on their hands, and maybe it was more at the forefront of people's minds. But as we're now slowly sort of entering back into sort of the real world, have people now forgotten about Black Lives Matter because other things in their lives are now taking precedence over that, you know? Not that I'm saying that's okay or right, but I'm wondering whether that's had an impact on how we've sort of started to forget about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. What are you going to say, Luke?
No, just agreeing with what Jasmine said. It's like, you know, it became quite a big thing, and a lot of people getting involved, and it's kind of like not even gradually died down. It's kind of like it's just gone, like disappeared.
Mm.
Yeah.
Which is a real shame, isn't it?
Well, I think it's more of a shame because I was chatting to a group of probation workers yesterday around Black Lives Matters, and they were saying, because there was a mum there, and she was describing why she doesn't have a trust with the police, and she was saying that her son got arrested, and when she phoned up the police station, they said to her, well, she said, when's my son going to come home? He said, well, not tonight, my love. And she was like, well, what's happened? He said, well, surely this isn't the first time your son's been arrested. And she said, what do you mean by that? It's like, black lad, 17, come on.
Wow.
He didn't get home that night. He stayed in, I think he came out Monday, but he actually wasn't charged with anything because when the offence took place, he was at school.
Oh, you're kidding.
And so this mum was saying 17 years of parenting, of telling her son, respect the police, went down the pan
Yeah.
immediately. But not just for him, but for the whole family.
Yeah.
And the probation workers were saying, it would take white people to feel the same level of fear and pain before something happens. And I thought that was a really interesting question. Yeah, would it take us as white people to go through something horrific before we as white people choose to take some action? What do you think?
Sorry, I'm struggling to hear you because you're breaking up a little bit. So did you say, is it going to take white people to go through that same significant amount of pain for us to do something?
Yeah.
Well, I think that can't happen, because that's just ridiculous, isn't it? You can't wait till one of us experience something significant. We already know that these horrendous things are going on, and we're all witnessing it. You know, it's so much different these days when we are able to watch the videos, and back in the day, it was a story told by two different parties. The police had their version, and then the person had theirs. But these days, we're actually getting to see really what happened, and that in itself shows you how terrible it is, the things that are going on, and something's got to change. We can't let this continue this way.
Absolutely. Yeah. What do you think, Kat?
I think it shouldn't, that white people shouldn't have to go through the same amount of issues, but I think if you're looking at it realistically, that's just the way the world works. Like, they're looking at Black people as a smaller group of society, when actually they're a very big part of society. And it's like, most of the people at university are international students. They are Black students, and like, there's nothing wrong with it, but I think that where they take up such a big part of society, I think maybe we really need to listen to that part of society.
Yeah,
absolutely. You're completely correct, Kat. And the other interesting thing that sometimes we forget as white people, which is this: there are more Black and people of colour in the world than there are white people. So ironically, we are the minority. The only difference is at the moment we have power. Yeah. So that's a really important point. Thanks for that, Kat. Jay, what are you thinking on this issue?
I think a lot of it stems back to like education and sort of re-educating different generations about what they are sort of, I don't know how to phrase it, like their perceived ideas or ideas that they've grown up with, and you're like, well, that's not how it is anymore. Does that make sense? And just sort of having that dialogue with people and trying to, I don't want to say open their eyes, but like that sort of thing of just because like the main argument I've seen is, oh, but he was pulled over by police officers for committing a crime. And I'm like, that doesn't mean you deserve to get shot. Like,
7 times.
Yeah. Also, just because you're pulled over by the police, that's not an admission of guilt.
No.
The court, where we decide, and even the courts are not always getting it right. So we know, for example, both in America and in the UK, people go to prison for crimes they did not do. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I'm against the death penalty. One of the reasons. I'm against it for lots of reasons. But one of the reasons is that innocent people could die.
Yeah.
Luke, what are you thinking about this issue?
Frustration, really. It's like you made a point about has it got to happen to white people before it changes, but that's not going to happen, is it? That's not going to happen. So really, it's kind of like how it can change, and I don't see it changing. So it's frustration, really. Yeah.
Who's responsible for it changing?
All of us.
Everybody is. Everybody.
Is it everybody or is it white people?
No, it's everybody. It's everybody. People have got to stand up for it. And
how can it be everybody if black people have no power? So they can't change it. They didn't create structural racism. Yeah, we created that. Not you and I, but white people created that. So how can black people with no power change it? Is it the responsibility of black people or is it the responsibility of white people?
I don't know. I would, to be honest, because that's a tricky question you put there, because I would actually say both. Because as much as I understand what you're saying, and you're right in that, well, white people have the power, so it's not down to black people. But if we all work together to make change, surely that's going to be a good thing. Yes, maybe we ultimately hold power, but I think it could be a combination.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with the idea that we all need to work together, but just so that we know, actually, black people can't do anything about this. Yeah, the only people who can change racism are white people. So, and that's really hard actually. And it goes to the book that we've been reading in our reading group, which is Me and White Supremacy. And what that says is that as a white person, we have white privilege. Yeah? So it doesn't mean that we're all racist, but what it means is that if I get pulled over when I'm driving my car, it won't be because I'm white. Yeah? It will be for reasons. When black people get pulled over in their cars, it's because they're black. Their crime is being black. Yeah, even the MP, Dawn Butler, she got pulled over because they said, your car registration was from Yorkshire. As if someone from Yorkshire, why are they driving to London? So if I drove from Yorkshire to London, my car wouldn't be stopped because I drove from Yorkshire to London, because I'm white. So you're quite right, all of you, as in everybody has a responsibility to play. So black people must keep telling us when they're experiencing racism or where they're experiencing systemic racism, but we as white people then take up that baton and do something with it. Yeah, that's really hard. Yeah, because for example, what black people are saying in some of the conversations I've been part of, which is when their children are maybe 10 or 11, they have to have a conversation about the police. Yeah, we won't have to do that as white people. We won't have to say to them, when the police arrest you, not if, but when the police stop and search you. Because we're not at risk of being assaulted in the same way as black people. So it does feel uncomfortable when it's not about things that we've done, and it's our ancestors, but we're benefiting from this very racist society, aren't we?
Yeah.
And so it's difficult, because it feels like when you say, well, it's our job as white people, the response is to go, well, actually, I'm not racist. I'm challenging racism. I want to do it in partnership. But it's our job to be calling things out, because if I call out racism, I'm less likely to be sacked. Yeah, I'm less likely to be identified as a troublemaker. Yeah, if I support a white person, they're more likely to get a reduction in their crime and their sentencing than if a black person was supported them in court. I mean, that's how deeply rooted the injustice is. So I guess there's two things that we're going to keep working on as a team. and one of them is around. We're going to keep having a conversation about Black Lives Matters, because all lives cannot matter until Black Lives Matters. Yeah. So when people say all lives matters, that's like your house being on fire and someone else right at the other end of the road whose house is not on fire saying about my house. Yeah, your house is fine. It's not on fire. Yeah, this house which is on fire is the problem. So we as white people, we might have other issues as women, for example, and sexism and misogyny, but we're not experiencing racism and discrimination. So at the moment, and we're less likely to die because of our colour. So it's a difficult conversation to keep having, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you find it hard, Jay?
It depends who I'm with, honestly.
Yeah.
Because obviously now I'm in Cardiff, it's a lot more sort of multicultural and diverse and everything else. And all my friends are really like open-minded and everything else. But then I go home and it's a completely different story. And yeah, or if I'm in a different social circle, it can be a completely different conversation altogether, where sometimes I'm the only one being like, yeah, but this isn't okay. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I guess like if we see stuff that's injustice, one of the good things is about filming stuff, so we've got that evidence to support the person. And also about asking questions. So you see police arresting people, you're allowed to ask questions. You're allowed to say, don't choke that person. Do you mean? It's really important to not be a bystander, isn't it? 1 in 3
Yeah.
people, 1 in 4 people get bullied, but that means there's another 3 people who might have actually viewed it. Yeah, in our community courtyard, one of the things that I'm really proud of, and I've seen it happen, is that you stand up for other people. Yeah, even when it feels uncomfortable. And that's something I think we're going to continue to do, but maybe even more so. We're going to be even more detectorism, between checking what's going on in our community and making sure that we're a voice when people don't have a voice. Thanks for that question, Jay. I'm glad we keep talking about Black Lives Matters. It's important. So, Luke.
Yes.
What did you want to have a natter about today?
You know what? I've been thinking about kind of like looking after ourselves, keeping ourselves fit and healthy. And I wondered if you guys are doing anything in that area.
So I do my boot camp. I've spoke about this quite a few times on my Thursday slot. So I do boot camp, and pre-lockdown we used to do it on the park in the village, just by the village hall. We'd all get there on a Wednesday night and a Saturday morning. But however, obviously since COVID has hit, we can't do that. So we all do it via Zoom. And we're still doing it via Zoom now, because there's quite a lot of us and we still can't all safely get together and use equipment. So it's to ensure that we continue to exercise, we're all still doing it in our own homes. And I don't know, I've said this so many times. I am not the biggest fan of exercise, but and the days when I do it a Monday, Wednesday, and a Saturday. And those days I dread it. You think, oh God, I can't be bothered. But I feel so much better, not just physically, but for me, it's more mentally. I feel so much better mentally afterwards. It really does make my mindset a lot better. And that's the reason why, I've really pushed myself to do it, because it really does help with your well-being, I think.
Definitely, yeah, it's a big part of it. See, I found it hard. I mean, I'm usually quite active, but during the whole COVID thing, where we've been at home and everything, I found it really hard. To do some basic fitness sometimes. I've lost my motivation and stuff like that as well.
I think there's so many people like that at the moment. A lot of people I speak to are just struggling. COVID and the lockdown has made us all quite lazy in a sense, hasn't it? Because we've all been at home, we've probably been eating more, even drinking more, because we've had nowhere to go and nothing to do. And then when you get into that sort of frame of mind, you can really lose all your motivation. and it's hard to get it back. It's hard to get back onto a bit of a, normal sort of, role, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But yeah, like you say, lost motivation and everything. I've not been doing much at all, but with the boot camps that I'm starting, because I'm starting to do stuff from the yard. So we're going to be doing lots of different classes and stuff like that. So that's going to give me a good reason to get back into it as well, and hopefully you guys can join in as well and
Yeah, I'm
keep
looking forward
yourselves
to that.
get yourselves motivated and fit.
Kat, what do you do for exercise?
Well, during the summer, I normally take up running, and it got to the point where I could actually run for half an hour straight without stopping and walking. And then it's like, because I've got to say, my family situation at home is a bit hectic. So it's sort of trying to fit that in around everything happening. And with coming back to Northampton, and getting a new job, it means I have to travel further. And with the COVID restrictions and then the government advice of try to avoid to take public transport, I thought, well, I'll get my bike out, fix my bike, and bring my bike to get there. So it gives me that exercise, and I can do it to travel to uni if I have a face-to-face.
That's a great idea.
And it's things like it's precautions about keeping yourself safe as well when you do go out and exercise. So for me, I feel safer not to go out on a run in Northampton, but I feel safer cycling. And I noticed that over the summer that the police did, the neighbourhood watch police did bike marking. So if someone steals my bike and the police get it, they can track it back to me and give me back my bike.
Oh, that's good.
Also taking the precautions of like keeping yourself safe as well. But I do agree with what Jasmine said about it makes you feel better mentally. It's like I did a paper round during my GCSEs, 7 days a week, all year apart from like Christmas and New Year's. And I've got to say that's probably the only thing that helped me get through school. Helped me get the GCSEs that I did because it put me in the right mindset.
Yeah, definitely. That's brilliant.
I think it's important for young people, especially going through school and with the current situation, to keep active in a way that suits them best, even if it means just going out for like a 10-minute walk. Or
I think I think you've just hit the nail on the head there, actually, Kat, because it's doing what's best for you. Now, I do a boot camp. That's not going to fit right for everyone. Some people may prefer even like a yoga or a Pilates type of class works better for people. Other people want to go for a run. It's just finding what suits you and what keeps you motivated to keep doing it. There's so many different sports and that out there that we can all sort of do. And I think probably, Luke, when you start doing your stuff, that may even help people find new ways and things to do with keeping themselves fit.
Yeah.
Their brains, perhaps things that they haven't tried before. That's a lot what I spoke about over lockdown. It's just about trying new things, and it may suit you. And if it doesn't, you've not lost anything.
And there'll be something for everybody's level as well. I'm going to do some stuff where it's seated. So, you only got to get out your chair to do some of the stuff.
That sounds perfect for Bianca.
There's no excuse. You can do it in your chair. You do all sorts of things. But you know what? It's like, obviously, you've got your physical health, your mental health, but it's really good for your immune system as well, which is an important thing all the time, but especially at the minute.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's definitely, definitely a lot more benefits to gain from being active.
Jay, are you active?
Yeah, I run every other day, and I do online yoga every sort of 2 or 3 days, depending on when I feel like it, honestly. But I used to do a hell of a lot more, but I messed my knee up a couple of years ago, and since I've just not been able to do an awful lot. So
that's really hard, isn't it? When you've really enjoyed sport and then you have an injury and it stops
yeah.
you. I'm saying that as if I know what that feels like, Jay, because clearly I have not been in that situation where I've done so much exercise, I've injured myself.
Mine was a really silly story. I literally took a rugby tackle wrong and landed, instead of landing with my knees underneath me, they did not go underneath me.
That's
So
painful.
yeah.
So even though
I'm a pro on crutches now, though. One of my party tricks.
An elbow. Well done. Even though people think I'm not very exercisey, I walk my dog and my sister's dog for at least 1 to 2 hours every day. I don't do like a slow little stroll in the park. We proper have a speedy walk. That's partly because the dogs are really fast, so not necessarily my choice. But I try and go.
But that's really good exercise.
In Northampton, what I try and do is rather than just go around the park, I go down Clifton. I go down the Whalley Road, down Cliftonville, along Bedford Road, and then back up Rushmere Avenue. Because it's a few hills, so it's like a little bit of an exercisey thing rather than just a flat stroll. So if I'm feeling fed up, I go around the park that's flat. But if I'm like, no, Bianca, you can have a really good walk, which is fab. But I don't like doing it in the rain because when you get back, you've got like stinky Bianca, soggy, and then you've got 2 soggy dogs. So that doesn't cheer me. I am excited about what Luke's going to be doing. So we're calling our boot camps yard camps. I know, shocking play of words there. Yeah, the yard camp. Well, very imaginative, Jay. I can see you inspired by our word things. But they're going to be every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Some will be at the yard. Some will be at different parks. And the other thing that we're doing, which I think is quite exciting, is we're getting some gym type equipment. So we can actually invite people to do that like mini workouts. Yeah, so for some young people and older people and community members, actually that physical strengthening is really important with how you feel. So Luke will be there to help people have their own kind of personal trainer, because that's part of Luke's background. Luke, will be watching and offering big solidarity through cheering. Maybe I'll buy a whistle from downstairs so I can show how proud I am of you all. But I don't think the idea of me picking up weights is... I can't see that happening. But you never know. But the other thing that we're looking at is doing a bike ride on a Saturday. Some Saturdays, actually having a group of people to have a little bike ride, because in Northampton there's a critical mass group who do a regular bike ride, but you might feel scared to join them because there's loads. So maybe you just want to come out with 3 or 4 of us to give you the confidence of riding in a group to get you to the stage where you go out with them, because we've got a lot of stuff that happens with bikes in Northampton. Thanks for that, Luke. It's my bike. That's what I'm thinking. I've just sold bike riding and I realise I don't have one. So where else are we? Kat, what are you going to ask us this lovely rainy day?
The weather, typical British conversation. I got woken up last night by really, really heavy rain and I couldn't get to sleep for about 3 hours. So I am extremely tired. Because I'm one of those people that even if I lose like half an hour's sleep, I am just so tired the next day. So I guess in a way it's sort of like affected sort of like motivation and mood.
Definitely. I got woken up last night by the rain as well. So I think it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? So you're tired because you've been woken up by the rain, but then it's just depressing waking up to this today. It's like we're in August, and it wasn't just a little bit of rain. It's absolutely torrential. We've got a wind weather warning today because it's so windy. And it's just a bit depressing because you think, well, you know, this is the end of summer now. We need a few like nice days before we hit the cold winter. So I don't know about you guys, it really affects my mindset. I spoke about this a lot on a Thursday as well. Just the weather plays a massive part in my mindset and how I feel. And, when you wake up to the weather like today, it's a struggle to get out of bed. However, when you wake up, we had that beautiful weather a week or so ago. It was absolutely boiling. I'm up out of bed and cracking on with the day. So as much as exercise plays a massive part to your mental well-being, I think the weather does as well. For a lot of people, it can be a real struggle on days like this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I guess they interlink as well, because it's like it's like when I said about like cycling to work and stuff, it's getting to the point where like winter's slowly coming in, and it's like, am I going to have to sort of like cycle in the rain because there's no bike available because of the weather or things like that? So it's a bit like, well, do I really want to turn up to work drenched because I've had to either cycle or walk in the rain? So, and I've done it many times before, and I think as well with the whole situation of COVID, you're more than likely to get a cold or get the flu because you've been out in the rain. And then it'll be like, well, is it COVID or is it just a normal cold sort of thing?
Yeah. I think we're all going to be wondering that for quite a while, to be honest. And, because we are approaching that time of year where perhaps we do all tend to get a bit more of a cold or a cough or, and with the COVID situation, I guess, maybe there'll be more of us going to get tested because we will be wondering whether it's COVID or is it just, a cold or whatnot.
Me and my housemates were talking about this. Sorry, I was going to say about like the cold and flu season and that. Me and my housemates were on about it last night, actually, because freshers flu is a big thing of like the sort of first week everyone moves in. It's like everyone magically gets a really bad cold. And we're all now like, well, that's just going to cause mass panic amongst everyone.
Everyone will be isolated.
Yeah, of whether it is just like freshers flu as we all know it, or obviously something more serious. And like we're in a house, like in my house now, we're sort of second and third years. Most of us have sort of been through uni for a good couple of years now, and we're still really anxious about it. So the freshers that are just coming up through, I definitely do feel for them, and yeah.
You should see a reduction in freshers flu this year, and the reason you should see it, I'm not saying you will, but you should, is if everyone is physically distancing, or if you are physically distancing, you have face masks, you have less chance to get the flu. Yeah, because the face masks don't just work with COVID, they work with the cold and common stuff as well. So actually, one of the good things about the face mask and socially distancing is that it has an impact on lots of health stuff. But the problem is for younger people, they are invincible. So they don't see, what they've heard from the media is, you're not going to die. You'll only die if you're old. That's what people have heard. That's not the truth. So people have died as younger people. Children have died from COVID. So I can't express strongly enough, wherever you are around the country, during the winter, COVID will be an issue, and we can only manage it by wearing our face masks or face shields, by washing our hands for the 20 seconds for the happy birthday song at least, and by keeping 2 meters away. The only way you can keep 2 meters away is if you are going out purposefully. Yeah, and what that means is you don't go out in a rush. You do a bit more planning. Yeah, you go to shops, make sure you got your list, so you got everything. Give yourself enough time, but you don't go, oh my goodness, I've got to get to a lecture or I've got to get somewhere else. When you've got time, you can afford to be slow around the shops. Yeah, when you can be slow anywhere, you can be safer. So one of the things that I like about this COVID lockdown time is reminding people that we don't have to be in a rush for life. Yeah, we can enjoy it as well. Maybe not enjoy COVID or masks, but we can enjoy each other and the time and do things a bit differently. I was just follow on, Jay, with what Kat was saying, which is, does the weather affect you?
Oh, massively.
In what
If
way?
Well, we're quite lucky today that it is quite sort of sunny and an all right day out in Cardiff. But if I wake up, like you were saying, and it's just grey and miserable, I'm like, well, what is the point in today? I could literally just sit in bed, watch TV, and ignore the day until it gets better.
Yeah.
And then you've got to think like, well, no, I've got uni work to do. I've got to do a food shop, or like I've got to go and see so and so, and you almost need a task to get you out of bed. Whereas sunshine, you're like,
reason, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas sunshine, you're like, right, this is it. I'm going exploring, or
Yeah,
like,
making the most of the day, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely.
There's someone who's just telling us on Twitch that Sweden is making a point. They did nothing and have high mortality rates. They've got loads of IKEA puns, but not going to make them. But they want Sweden to be better. Do you mean there's so many countries in the world who are making a really bad job of this COVID stuff, isn't it? So
yeah,
we're being really purposeful. So in our people's picnic, we didn't just keep 2 meters away; we kept 4 meters away. Do you mean? And we're trying really hard to say to people, you can meet up and do things differently.
that's it. And I think that's a massive point of the whole COVID and us all starting, with schools going back next week and whatnot. It's just about doing things in a different way until we've got a vaccine. Yeah.
Absolutely. We won't have a vaccine for a little while yet. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the issue.
They're making progress though with finding medications or treatments that reduce the symptoms and
Yeah, they are.
make people feel a lot better. So it's not like we're going nowhere. We are getting somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I just think realistically, it's not going to be for another year until we get a vaccine.
I think we're looking at the World Health Organization is saying that COVID will be a problem for another 2 years. So I'd add a year onto that. I think that the majority of people won't want to take a vaccine until it's been tested, which is understandable. I'm not sure, but I feel like I want to take a vaccine that hasn't been tested properly. What we can do is keep our families as safe as possible. And those things are, remember that, especially in Northampton, about the bubbles. Yeah, and going into people's houses. Should we be going into people's houses?
Not in Northampton, no.
No. So that means no for you, no for your children, no for your parents, no for the dogs and cats. Yeah, no one should be doing that. It also means that in Northampton, if you can get the bus, should you get the bus?
No, you should be avoiding public transport.
Yeah. So you could get it, but you shouldn't. If you can,
unless you have no other option.
Yeah, if you have no other option, absolutely. But then make sure you wear your mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that like someone I know was on the bus, still no people wearing masks. Yeah, so that's really difficult as well, isn't it? It makes it.
I went into Subway the other day, and there was 4 people in front of me, and none of them had masks on.
I know someone who was they were in a shop. I think they were at bottom, and there was an older gentleman, and there was a young person. And he said to the young person, "Can I ask you, how come you're not wearing a mask?" And the young person said, "Well, I don't want to." So the old person said, "Well, could you please make sure you're at least 2 meters away from me?" And the young person went to have a go at the older person, and another person went like, "Oi, don't speak to them like that. They're your elders. Do you mean be kind? You might not be scared for your life, but he's at the latter part of his life, and he doesn't want to catch COVID from you, and that's part of the issue, isn't it?"
I think it's just being not just following the guidance that the government and the council are giving you. It's also respecting other people as well. Like, people can't wear masks for medical reasons. So obviously you got to respect their space. You got to be aware of that. And I think that's what we're almost forgetting,
Mm-hmm.
is being able to respect other people's spaces and you know what they're doing that they feel is keeping them safe.
Do you think, this is a question to all of you, do you think the reason people don't do that is because we have a breakdown in community? So,
Can you say that again? Sorry.
do you think that the reason that people don't socially distance or are struggling is because we don't have strong communities anymore?
I think and I think it sort of goes back to like the Black Lives Matter movement. Like, we are all sort of labeled in society, which then puts us into like our own little communities. And I think like when you label someone, it can be a positive thing, but sometimes it can also be a negative thing in the respect that it separates us from society, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Luke, have you got any thoughts about that?
I think community has got a big part to it. Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of people that don't socially distance, and it's everywhere. You see people that are doing it, see people that are not doing it. But yeah, I think, yeah, I've not really got much to say about that other than yeah, I do. I think it is to do with community and people not really, what's the word? Not looking out for each other, but just kind of, um, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yes, I just can't think of the word.
So explain what you're trying to say. Are you saying that there's no community and that's the problem, or are you saying that community is really good and they just don't care?
No, I think there's a breakdown in community.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think it's a combination of the both, to be honest with you. I think some people don't care, and that's got nothing to do with whether they're, the communities are broke or anything. You are always going to get people, I know, well, I don't know personally, but I've read so many people who think that COVID is a hoax virus and it's all being really blown out of proportion. So I think there are some people that just don't care. And then I think that obviously there is a breakdown in communities, and, maybe if we were all a bit more connected and a bit stronger together, we'd be able to promote these sort of positive ways of doing things, and maybe things would just sort of, be passed along the line a bit easier.
Yeah, that's it. You got to be looking out for each other, and even if you don't think socially distance is a thing, that you shouldn't be doing it, then you should be thinking about the other people that are in the community, and people that do want to be doing that, respect that and socially distance.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit like if communities were a bit stronger. For example, if you knew your neighbours really well, and for example, say I was someone who wasn't fussed about wearing a mask, I didn't feel it provided any real necessary protection for me. But then I was very close with my neighbours, and I know that Ted down the road at number 80, who's 74 and has got illness, is really is passionate about people wearing masks because it makes him feel protected. Maybe that would make me feel more inclined to, sorry, that was my phone, more inclined to wear a mask. So if communities were stronger like that, it may give people who were doubting better reasons why to do so.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we're going to end the conversation about COVID. That was going to be like Jasmine's thing, but we've kind of spoken about it a minute. I just want to remind everyone what we've got going on this week. So from poetry to storytelling, from fitness challenges to quizzes, from having conversations to actually doing stuff. We've got lots of bits and pieces going on every day. So if you look at our Facebook page and within Twitch, we'll make sure we've got the poster in our discussion and in Discord. And please get involved. If you think you can have something good for us to talk about, please send us a message. Or if you're brave and want to join us any Tuesday at 10:30, 11 o'clock-ish, then give us a shout and be part of the conversation. But until then, stay safe. Keep 2 meters away, even from people you like. Yeah, don't go in their houses. Meet outside in the rain. That's a selling point for nobody, I think. Try and do that. But most importantly, face masks or face shields and look after yourselves. And we'll see you all next week. But this week, there'll be stuff going on. You'll see us before then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.